This year was a roller coaster, to say the least. Academically, with my grades, and with my life in general. First semester, everything started out really good. I came into the school, I had good grades, and was excelling for the most part in my classes and doing what needed to be done. I was getting a lot of hours in at work, and I was actually starting to learn how to study, which I had never had to do before, and I was really happy. And then I had my accident, hurt myself pretty bad, and kind of messed up my mojo a little bit. Coming back from that was hard. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, because when I first came back, not only was I broken and hurting and in pain all the time, and I was always drugged up because I was trying to get rid of the pain, but I had also suffered from a really, really bad concussion, and it messed up my head. It made it hard for me to pay attention in class. It made it hard for me to talk and use proper language, and it made it hard for me to process abstract thoughts and picture things in my head that people were describing me like I had done before, like I was really good at doing before. When I come back, it was like a whole section of my life, thinking and processing things, was gone, and basically I had to relearn how to do all that stuff, which I would say now I'm back to the point to where I almost was before. I think that a little bit of my speaking ability, putting my thoughts into words, has to catch up a little bit, but I'm not even worried. I'm getting there. I'm damn near 100%. I think that one of the biggest things I took away from this last year was the fact that I was probably critical thinking. Not just in the broad sense that schools use it to describe how they want their students to learn. I mean, like, actually looking at things, actually reading things and criticizing it, and looking at things from different perspectives and criticizing those perspectives and pulling apart arguments and using that to construct arguments of my own that are better than the ones that I just read. And I think that was invaluable for me to learn, especially going into college. Like, me learning this right before I get into college is really going to help me become a scholar in college. And I think a lot of what really led up to me learning this skill was the election this year. It was so controversial. There was so much fake news put out, so much biased, opinionated, just garbage that was being thrown out to throw people off and try to persuade public opinion one way or another. I had to really, when I was trying to stay informed and reading articles, I had to really figure out how to maintain my own opinion on things while I was reading this stuff, because a lot of it's so inherently biased that it kind of forces one way of thinking. It doesn't cater to any sort of non-accepted viewpoints, or non-accepted as to what that specific news source wants you to believe is accepted. And I think another big thing that I learned this year was, in my writing, I learned how to be more dense with my writing. I was able to take what would normally be a 5-page paper at my old school, and what would basically be a fluff paper with not much information provided, and I was able to turn it into a strong 2.5-page paper with a lot of sources cited, and something that would be academically viable, something that I could be proud turning in to a college professor. And I think that's a lot that was missing from my old school. Was I would write papers, and we would write papers just to write them, just to have that assignment in the books. There wasn't really much point to what we were writing about, so the papers weren't that good. I would turn in a paper, and as long as it met the paragraph requirements and the teachers assumed that I was smart, they would give me an A on it. You didn't actually earn the grade that you got. Socially, this year was invaluable in the fact that I learned how to communicate with people that weren't jocks and that were academically motivated to become successful. In my years past, from my freshman to my junior year, I had talked to the same types of people. They were all football players or baseball players or basketball players, and not many of them had goals other than to play football. You would talk to them and ask them what they want to do with their life, and they didn't know. And to be quite honest, me myself, I couldn't envision them doing anything with their lives, and that's not the kind of people I wanted to be around. So this year was different in the fact that when I would talk to people, they actually had concrete answers on what they wanted to do with their life. They were motivated, they had direction. Whereas at Corona, I feel like nobody really had direction. And I was one of the few people that did have direction. Or so I thought was direction. It's changed a lot since I've been at JFK. My life has taken a complete 180. Back at my old school, I was not the same person I am today. I was very much centered around football. I was under the indication that I was going to play college football, and that was what I set my life for. I didn't get to do any extracurricular activities. I didn't get to do robotics club like I desperately wanted to because I was so focused on football. And I kind of wish that I hadn't done football. Of course, it made me into the man I am today, but I missed out on a lot. I missed out on family vacations. I missed out on going out and seeing family in other states. I missed out on a big portion of life that I'm currently trying to get all that back. But I think when I came to JFK, I started actually considering myself as not being an athlete, but actually being a student, being a scholar, actually having thoughts about going to college. The reason why I came to JFK was to take classes at Norco College because I wanted to decide for myself whether or not the college life was for me. Because no longer was I going to college to party and play football. I was going to college to become a student, think about my future, and do something with my life. I think that without this experience, I would be with a lot of the people that I know from my years past. I would be doing drugs at park, playing basketball, pickup games all the time, and not really going anywhere with my life. So I'm glad at where I've came and how far I've came and what I've done with my life so far. Now, what the future holds for me, I've committed to Cal Poly Pomona for pre-engineering, and I'm hoping that I will go to college, and I'm hoping that it'll be my thing. Like, I'm hoping that I'll find myself as a student, and I'll really be able to commit myself to my studies, because one of my heroes, one of the people that I look up to greatly is my uncle. He's an engineer for Honda. He's been on the Baja 1000 race scene. He's done all that stuff, and I desperately want to do that. And I know going to school, being a scholar, and getting my degree, most importantly, is going to be central to me having the ability to do that. Or even starting my own company. I feel like I'll get a lot of merit just on the fact that I have a degree. In conclusion, I think that this year overall, while it did have some very low lows, I would say that I came out of this year proud of what I've done. I do have some regrets. I do have some things that I would have wished went a little differently, but I wouldn't do it over again in fear of risking the person I am today. I know that everything has led up to the person I am today, and I'm proud of myself. And that's all I have to say about this year. That's my reflection.